For us, value creation, specifically for collaboration with our laboratories, is do we have a collaboration opportunity that can unlock a business opportunity by solving a scientific challenge? That's all we do. If we don't have a scientific challenge, meaning we cannot make our professor happy, and we don't have a business opportunity we can unlock by solving the scientific challenge, and there is no collaboration.
Hello, and welcome to the Strategic Partnerships podcast series. My name is Sarah Jabber, Director at UIIN, and your host for today. Step into the world of open innovation and strategic collaboration in this week's episode, where we sat down with Federico Matteini, Head of Strategic Foresight at Vega, based at the EPFL in Switzerland, to talk about the KNOVA platform they have developed. Explore with us how the KNOVA platform leverages its dynamic research and innovation ecosystem, where cutting-edge technologies meet real-world challenges, and discover how it bridges the gap between research and application, empowering companies to unlock new opportunities and drive growth. I'm really happy to introduce our speaker for today, Federico Matteini, who's currently the Head of Strategic Foresight at Vega, which is an initiative from the Vice Presidency for Innovation at EPFL, which I hope many of you would be familiar with, based in Lausanne, Switzerland. And in his current role, they provide innovation strategy support to companies. But before that, Federico was the head of KNOVA, which was EPFL's open innovation platform for companies to nurture their innovation pipeline by initiating and developing partnerships within the EPFL innovation ecosystem. Federico started this platform in 2021 with one pilot customer, and it has now grown to 18 members this year alone. And I can imagine quite a big future ahead for KNOVA. And maybe just also for context, we're having this fireside chat also as part of one of our training programs on identifying and initiating partnerships. We thought the initiative is a very relevant example to talk about what are different approaches for initiating and identifying partners and starting collaborations. So Federico, welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Sarah. Excited to be here.
Yeah, great to have you. And so I always call it KNOVA, is that correct?
Yes, KNOVA or KNOVA. That's
okay.
A shorter form.
So just to get started with the discussion, can you tell us a little bit around what is the KNOVA platform? And then we'll talk a bit more about the history and stuff, but just maybe for setting some context.
KNOVA is an open innovation platform that we have created back in 2021. The purpose really was to answer to the need of companies that we realized back then to help them nurture their innovation pipeline with the rich ecosystem we have around EPFL. So just to be very specific, when I speak about ecosystem, I refer to the ensemble of more than 350 laboratories we have at EPFL, more than 150 startups we have on campus, all the 20 research institutions and 50 corporate partners we have around us. So that was like the opportunity space that we help companies explore to really, again, nurture the innovation pipeline along the three different horizons, short, medium, and long term. And
you mentioned EPFL's innovation ecosystem. So you have I think, quite a strong innovation ecosystem, a very rich history of collaboration with different types of stakeholders. I'd be curious to understand a bit more, what were the main motivations or goals behind developing such a platform? And how was it different to some of the other collaboration opportunities that were available to stakeholders to engage with EPFL?
So there are different elements that push us to the creation of this platform. First of all, we realized that with the offering we had at the time, we were leaving food on the table in the sense that there were opportunities we were not exploiting. And also we realized that as research university, we can only answer to a specific part of the innovation needs of a company. So that meant there are a huge set of needs we're not ourselves capable of answering, but that by answering it with an ecosystem approach, we would still benefit and keep them into the broader sense of the relationship we had with those partners. So we really got together by combining our strengths as EPFL with the strength of our partners around us to be able to better serve our industry partners throughout their innovation journey.
Can you tell us a bit more around how does it actually work, the KNOVA platform?
Yep.
How do industries get involved? How do EPFL stakeholders get involved?
Let's start from the industry side. Companies pay a yearly membership to access the platform. And then the platform is actually structured over three different pillars. Why three pillars? Because we realized that open innovation overall, the space in which we're playing, is a a complex beast that means different things to companies. So we couldn't just answer with one single structure, but we developed 3 different pillars that answer to different needs of a company within the open innovation space. So I'm going to go now to explain you the 3 pillars. So once an industry partner become a member, then they have access to a series of, let's say, sprints over the year. So there are, let's say, monthly sprints of 2 to 3 days, where they come in presence on campus and interact between each other throughout, let's say, a series of workshop, events, demos, presentations, and so on. With this series of events, we answer to the collective need, meaning the kind of elements that many companies share in terms of needs in open innovation, that are some aspects are related to education. How do I really embrace open innovation? How am I more strategic about ecosystem engagement? How do I build strategic relationship universities? How do I design collaboration opportunities? So it's about, let's say, we design a series of 7 workshops that are spaced within these sprints, where we help companies upskill them, let's say, and learn about best practices in open innovation and how to engage with a university research ecosystem. Then there is another pillar that is called Explore, that is always distributed events within this series of sprints, where we have a combination of technology roadshows, events, demos, presentations, where the purpose is to leave no stone unturned. So we want to inspire them, we want to show them all the technological wonders that we have, like that different, not only EPFL, but other actors, startups, and other research institutes are developing, so that we increase the chances of collaboration and we show like new opportunities to partner. So that's all about the collective part of the 2 pillars, learn and explore. And then there is another part that is individual for the company, as we realize that every company is different, that is the scouting part. Meaning when we actually start to nurture the collaboration pipeline of companies, there we use and embrace fully an account management approach, meaning that we have a person that is gonna follow every industry partner. So every industry partner as an account manager is going to learn about their open innovation strategy, understand the areas of exploration, and help the company navigate the ecosystem, identify who are the right laboratories, startups, other companies, other research institutes that could help them advance in their strategic directions. So these are the 3 key elements that we put into the platform to make it work and deliver value to companies.
What kind of companies generally get involved? You mentioned they first become a member and then have access to the 3 pillars and the different initiatives in the platform. So yeah, what kind of companies generally are they, and how do they hear about it? Do you target specific companies? Is it an open call that anyone can apply for?
We had quite a diverse set of companies. So we go from very big one, Novartis, we had in the past IKEA, we had Siemens, Michelin, to actually companies up down to 2 people. We had Forestero, the last year, a company that does cocoa forecasting. So it's actually 1 people company in Switzerland that has like some other people in Africa. So we really go like the full spectrum. We tend to see that the company can benefit the most are one that are big innovation needs. They have like a hunger for nurturing their pipeline that is big. So that in this sense, they justify more of the investment of time that we ask to companies to engage. And geographically, we started surprisingly enough internationally from the first company. And then we actually have few local companies. Most of the companies are coming either from the other side of Switzerland, so the German-speaking part, and others from like Germany, from Greece, France, Sweden. We design it to make it accessible for companies that do not have the advantage of proximity. And in terms of scouting, we limit our cohorts. As you can see, the bottleneck is the account management like capabilities we have. It's mainly raise awareness about the activities we do. And in our interaction with industry, when we start to realize that there is even some companies that approach us for an individual collaboration, then we understand the potential is bigger, then we propose to them to join. Or now actually we have more and more companies that directly approach us as they're interested to become a member of a platform.
Mm-hmm. And do most of the companies have a history of collaborating with EPFL, or it's more like a way to start a potential collaboration?
We actually designed it as a way to start. So again, if you go back to the motivation, back in the days before creating KNOVA, there was a very binary. Either you had like very strategic relationship with EPFL, meaning like very big engagement, maybe having even offices at our EPFL Innovation Park, like research contract and so on, or you had nothing. With this, we created, allow me the physics metaphor, we created like an intermediate energy state that allows companies to test the value of the ecosystem. So it's actually mainly for companies who do not have yet the strategic relationship EPFL, but want to assess its potential. And we realized that as we have like many companies that stayed over and over, actually the first company that joined is still there. That means, it's a way that they can keep a foot into the door of ecosystem and keep looking at what are the new technologies and new opportunities that come up.
And I guess from what you said about the third pillar, where it becomes a bit more personal and tailored, do you see then companies that have different levels of maturity when it comes to collaborating with universities, that some maybe have done it a lot in different capacities, some maybe haven't? Do you see that level? And if so, do you provide then extra types of guidance, or are they all similar in terms of their engagement?
We have a full spectrum of companies that are pros in terms of collaboration with universities, like scouting of technologies and so on, and some others that are just getting started. So this is why the idea of, and you can see the offering of the 3 pillars as a kind of a buffet. They eat whatever they want, but then we're going to choose what fits more of their appetite. In the cases of companies that are new, then they really benefit from the learn pillar. They get acquainted with new tools on how to be more strategic about engagement. Companies that are pros, they won't benefit much of what we teach them there, but it's actually from exchanges among peers. So because it's an opportunity to actually compare. We have companies that goes from luxury goods to like pharma to sensors to, there is a huge diversity. And as such, the practice of innovation in every different domain is slightly different. So it allows us also to benefit in this peer-to-peer interaction.
And you also do, if I understood correctly, if I've read it maybe, that you do different types of events and networking to also bring them together.
Absolutely. We wanted to bring like proximity to companies that are not nearby. So it was like a big challenge we faced and we learned throughout the years. So the idea of many companies ask us, why don't you do everything like digitally and follow up? We have a sprint where the presentations, the material and so on is only available live for people that are physically there. There is no recording, there is no streaming and so on. Because in this way, companies are forced to come over and interact. This, of course, has limitations in terms of growth, but it allows us to ensure quality interaction and test motivations of the companies. The ones that are really motivated are going to do the efforts and come here. And throughout this series of networking events, opportunities, we actually bring even, again, in KNOVA, we really embrace an open innovation and like innovation ecosystem approach in the sense that we bring, for instance, people from IMD, the local business school, to visit KNOVA, to interact with our company members, and also to organize talks with external speakers so that we really foster this interaction among peers.
Great. And we talked a bit about the company involvement and what they get. What about from the internal perspective? So EPFL researchers, students, how do they get involved?
That is the other part of the customer, right? We'll never be able to create value without engaging faculties, researchers into this interaction. Now, we as a kind of facilitators, we take care of platform management, events like the account management part and so on. And then in terms of soliciting faculties, our professors have teaching duties, they have research duties, and as such, we try to get their time only when it's really relevant. In the sense, we act as a filter. That's what they expect also from us. So in terms of we do assessment of opportunities of collaborations for them. So we rely very much on the work of the account manager in identifying when it's relevant to involve a faculty, a professor in discussion or not. So that's like mainly for professors. Now, if you go to the students population, is something that we're actually launching this year, an open innovation challenge platform for companies where they can post challenges that we're not speaking about grants for call for proposals, but it's something that is much smaller challenges that can propose to the broader population of PhD students and postdocs and even students. And this platform is only accessible from this community. So we're trying to create an over communication channel between the companies that we have in the platform and our student and research community.
And maybe to touch a bit on challenges, because we always like to talk about challenges. I have 2 questions. I'll start with one, which is, what kind of challenges have you faced with developing such a platform and implementing it in your ecosystem? So
one of the biggest challenges that you need to put aside your individual ego, your specific initiatives, and play more as a team. So that is something that it's very difficult in the sense that you're somehow putting together an offer that is not only EPFL, but is actually considering all the ecosystem around us. So that's something that even within EPFL, bringing all the different stakeholders on board, there is something that is not trivial. But then it's exactly actually what makes the difference, that when you play this innovation ecosystem approach, you increase the comprehensiveness of your offer, the breadth of your offer, and as such, you can satisfy much more needs. And overall, for a company to engage with an ecosystem, the important thing is that you deliver. Who specifically within the ecosystem, it's probably less relevant. So for us, even if we collaborate with other actors, it's still a success of a relationship that we have with us as an ecosystem. So that's a difficult balance to strike, but it's something that can really propel the full ecosystem forward.
Yeah. So you're really looking at that comprehensive value you can bring to the company, not so much on how do we only benefit, or how do we meet the different priorities of different parts of the university.
Yeah, you're touching on a point that is very crucial. You want to focus on how can you create value for your customers and not what you want to get out of it, okay? And then afterwards you can say, okay, can I myself create that value for them or not? If not, who else nearby you could deliver that value and build an offer accordingly? As you know, together you are stronger. You just need to find the partners around you that are complementary. Of course, you cannot, if you have two partners nearby that have the same offering, that is more complicated, but identifying the complementarities, it's something that makes you much, much stronger. For instance, as an institution, we tend to focus on our professors. They aim at publishing in big journals, in Science, Nature, and so on. So they focus on technology readiness level between 0 and 3. Once a technology is validated in the lab or maximum environment, we're not going to work on that anymore. And that means that not all the companies are capable of absorbing technologies TRL 3 or 4. So who are the other partners in the ecosystem that can help mature those technologies? You probably have around you other more applied research universities that would help mature the technology from TRL 3 to, let's say, 7. And then the company might be capable of bringing it over. That's the beauty of an ecosystem, an ecosystem approach. They can really find the complementarities to ultimately deliver value to the customer. That's the key element. Yeah. Because for us, the guiding principle throughout the last 4 years is, okay, whether it is us or somebody else, it is less relevant. Let's see what are really the needs of our customer, how can we create that value for them, and we really kept a closed loop of interaction, measuring satisfaction twice a year with the companies and implementing the feedback like on the fly. So every 6 months we're actually making changes in the platform so they could really adjust the direction based on the feedback we're getting from our industry partners.
Yeah, so really open innovation, open collaboration.
Yes, absolutely.
In terms of challenges, I now would be keen to understand a bit more from the companies that you've worked with as part of this platform. What have you seen have been some of their biggest challenges when it comes to collaboration, or maybe starting a collaboration with a university or other type of entity?
It depends from the level of maturity of companies in terms of interaction with university research ecosystem. One of the biggest difficulty for companies that are not used to that is how do you get internal traction? I'm not getting classical challenge of an innovation manager that interact with us. I mention it internally. I'm not getting any proposition and ideas for collaborations and so on. So how do you create the incentives internally to collaborate externally? That's something that is absolutely not trivial for companies. And that is something that it's beyond our specific scope, but is a big challenge for companies. How do you change your internal culture? What are the incentives you can put within your organization to push people to the outside? It doesn't have to be money. It can be visibility or other ways that can motivate them to look for external partners. So that's for sure one that we've seen over and over in several companies. And it's a tricky one to tackle.
And it's a very similar challenge also on the university side. How do you incentivize different researchers, but also parts of the university to want to engage and undertake? So interesting to see it's really a problem, or can be a problem on both sides.
Yeah, the university side generally being the transaction mainly oriented toward research contract and so on, it generally boils down is there any financing opportunity for a laboratory or in-kind contribution with data or other contribution to be able to launch a collaboration. For the corporate world is a bit more complex, as every company is designed internally differently, and how to actually motivate people is they have impact, they can do their own internal R&D competences, so it's a bit more subtle. How do you actually push people to collaborate with external partners? Because sometimes it can be perceived you're losing resources towards that external part, and that is not absolutely the way it should ever be perceived.
Yeah. Exactly. What would you say have been the key success factors of the KNOVA platform in helping make it successful?
Key success factor for sure is, I go back again to this ecosystem engagement approach, meaning it boils down to a critical mass. For companies, if you have, let's say, if you're too narrow and you don't match perfectly the specific need, then there is no reason to interact, right? So the more you build a critical mass around you, the more you can answer to a diverse set of problems, the more you're perceived as somebody who can create value for them. And so in this, the playing together with other actors in the region, it was something that really helped us. We do this specifically throughout a series of, we call them technology roadshows, meaning that companies during the sprints that I mentioned that happens during the year, we bring them to different locations in Switzerland, to Geneva, to Freiburg, to Sion, to Neuchâtel, to Yverdon, to see all the different EPFL campuses around, but also other applied research universities, innovation parks with startups and so on, so that we do not leave any stone unturned for them. So that is for sure a success factor that we designed something that was around a customer need and not around what we are capable of doing. And the other element is be very close to the customer. Again, understanding, okay, what we're capable of offering ourselves is not enough to create value for all the different needs of a company. So we really need to partner to have other institutions around us, and also adapting, as I mentioned before, measuring satisfaction every 6 months, gathering feedback, and having the courage to implement them on the way to adapt to the needs of companies. As much as it sounds trivial nowadays, the design with sprints is something we didn't come up from the beginning, because we were used to interact with companies that are nearby. So initially, we actually spread all the events, 1 event per week or 2 events per week. And companies told us after 6 months, I can't travel every week. I'm based on the other side of Europe. I can't take a plane every week to meet you. And that is by interacting with them, understood, okay, we really need to concentrate. So we want to be competitive for companies that are not only nearby, then we really need to design a series of in sprints so that companies justify their travel, they get the most out of every visit, and it's not only for a single meeting, presentations, or visit.
You mentioned earlier that account management can sometimes be maybe not a bottleneck, but maybe a barrier to really growing and expanding the platform. Just out of curiosity, what kind of support is there available at the moment in your team or across EPFL?
So we actually have people that have multiple roles, and account manager is one of the roles. So that means we have people, we don't have one person that follows 10 accounts, okay? That would be impossible for the configuration we have. So we have people that follows a maximum 3 to 4 accounts, and then we have overall a team of 8 people that are between account management and also the management of a platform overall.
Yeah, great. Thanks. I have a couple more questions, but I think I will open up the floor to see if there's any questions from the audience. Yes, actually, Hugh, I knew you were going to ask a question. Please go ahead.
Yeah, no, this is really interesting idea. It's very insightful. Thank you. I have a question. The people who take on the role of account manager, which is what my role would be, broadly speaking, what are the characteristics or the skill set of those people? Are they people who've come from academia into the environment, or are they people who've come from industry?
So I'll have a disappointing answer because it's both. So we have people that comes from, the important thing is the diversity of a background, not only industry and academia. Generally speaking, it's most of the people had also an experience in industry, even, and it's not only big corporates, it can be startups, it can be different sizes of organization, SMEs, but it's very important also the diversity. We don't have to, if you have all the account managers that always work in medtech, then we're going to be limited only to service companies. So that the background, in this sense, it's very important to ensure that we can serve a very diverse pool of companies. And this is, again, of course, we'll not be able to match precisely every company, the background of a account manager with the domain of activity of a company. But being in an institution, then the advantage is that you can rely on different level of experts that can help you navigate then domains that might not be your specific domain of expertise.
Yeah.
And there is some of them as PhDs, some other don't. Yeah. So again, I would love to give you a secret sauce and the ideal profile, but it's actually the diversity is probably the most important part in that.
And do these people meet as a team? Are they the platform hub? Are they meeting regularly? Are they sharing what they're doing? How do they work? Are they just basically focused on their own activity?
So for sure, we're very independent. Then there is weekly meeting to exchange. And then we also design specific meetings every couple of months to go a bit more in depth of what are the specific directions and so on, exchange ideas, best practices from other companies we have seen and so on, so that we can really benefit from the mutual experience that each of the account manager develop.
Okay, thank you. One question. Sorry, it's more maybe the relationship between the academic community and the platform. Do you get the academics coming to you looking to reach out to industry, or is it the other way around?
We tend to interact more with the companies, and of course, if there is a professor, that's ideal. We would love to have more of this. If a professor approaches and I want to talk to this company, would love to have this company over, we proactively approach them. And now, it happens sometimes, but it's not. If you see the 18 companies didn't come because 18 different principal investigators ask us to target those companies. So that's a bit, we interacting with companies and we sense a need, we know what is the potential we have to offer, bring them on board, and then we propose opportunities based on what is the collaboration potential, what are the professors that would be worth talking to, manage expectation the other side. Hey, are we speaking about a postdoc, are we speaking about a PhD, or speaking just like a master project, so that, they don't get disappointed out of interaction. That's a lot of expectation management on both sides, actually.
Yeah, that's really important. Yeah, okay, that's good. Thanks.
Thanks, Hugh. And Federico, with the cohort, that lasts a year, is that correct?
Yeah, so it's an yearly based membership that can be renewed. So companies, as I mentioned, for instance, the first company that piloted in 2021 is still in, so they can stay multiple years. Customers realize over the time that actually they see a value in staying in the platform, because it allows them, if you're not physically here, you don't know what is happening in the ecosystem. So actually, it's the investment again of the account manager that becomes your eyes and ears in the ecosystem. They know you, they know the company, they know the innovation needs and so on, so they can proactively scout and feed. And of course, you can hire somebody who's dedicated to that, but it's probably much more expensive than actually keeping your engagement with an account manager that can serve you and other companies at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. So that company, for example, that's been around from the beginning, and some of those others that return, what have been some of the main maybe outcomes or impact that has come out of being involved in the KNOVA program? Are there any successes or stories that you'd like to highlight?
Every year we have press releases where we showcase the most interesting story. We just had one recent that came out on one of our industry member from last year, Kistler, that actually had a very nice project from a perspective, because it is very open innovation oriented in the sense that it involves some students, it involves an EPFL laboratory, it involves a company. So in this case, for instance, the company is deploying sensor technology on composite materials for the sailing boat competition for the students, so that the students can benefit out of that. And for them, they test the application of those sensors in a new domain, so potentially opening a new market. At the same time, they're collaborating with a composite materials laboratory so that they can test what are the forces that get applied onto the composite materials to design more performing composites, for instance, for sailing applications.
Yeah, great. So really bringing in research, but also involving students and different parts of that ecosystem, as you've been talking about.
Yeah. These are some of the examples we like to showcase, because they really, specifically in this case, we see that they embrace different actors. We're going to have another press release coming soon that again embrace the same approach involving different stakeholders. And it's on a very tangible product. Is going to be on the market soon.
Yeah. Do you think, maybe this is a bit of an odd question, you're probably going to say no. Do you think some of these collaborations, some of these outcomes would have happened anyway without having a platform like KNOVA? Or do you really see that as a strong facilitator for driving these collaborations and making them happen?
Sarah, what I say to companies is that we don't do anything you couldn't do yourself. It just, do you have the time and the energy to invest to do this? If you do, then go ahead. But we're making, this is why I speak about KNOVA as a platform, because within it, we create frictionless interaction between industry and academia, okay? So again, it's not something you cannot do. You can do it without us. It's simply going to require a higher level of commitment from your side and a knowledge of ecosystem. Yeah. But absolutely, we don't do anything that would not be possible without us. We simply make it easy and simple.
Exactly. And we were actually just talking about that previously. We had a workshop just earlier, and one of the challenges often cited by companies is how they don't know how to navigate a university, especially if you don't have strong relationships and you're trying to develop and understand what is available. Often you just have no idea where to start because universities have so many different structures and I mean, same with companies. So this is really a navigator to guide you through the complexity of the ecosystem.
Yeah, we tend to, I think in general universities, to map our internal structure to the outside. And again, the key to success to me here is be much more customer centric. Start from the need of a company, and then you see what are the potential, can you solve it yourself? Who could solve it? Who would be the right partner? So in a way, at the beginning, we're very much partner agnostic, okay? We would love to have an EPFL lab that can solve that challenge. But if that is not the case, it doesn't make sense to force a conversation because it's going to waste time of both parties. So we'd rather better identify the other partner and just take the interaction with our professors only when we believe it's relevant for them. It can really create value for both parties.
Yeah.
Value creation, it's very much of a buzzword, but for us, value creation specifically for collaboration with our laboratories is, do we have a collaboration opportunity that can unlock a business opportunity by solving a scientific challenge? That's all we do. If we don't have a scientific challenge, meaning we cannot make our professor happy, and we don't have a business opportunity we can unlock by solving the scientific challenge, and there is no collaboration.
As you said, really pinpointing the need and making sure that it addresses both parties.
Yeah, the need of each party. How does a professor advance is publishing, and how do you publish? By solving scientific challenges. And so whereas the company has different incentive structures that is designed around actually selling more products. So how can you unlock new business? Again, with specifically collaboration with laboratories, the collaboration space is actually rather narrow because we can focus only on business opportunities that can be unlocked by solving a scientific challenge. There is a full set of business opportunities that do not concern at all solving a scientific challenge. Unfortunately, we cannot act on that ourselves directly. This is why we need an ecosystem around us that can actually nurture again the innovation pipeline by creating other business opportunities for our industry partners.
Yeah. And maybe on that, just a technical question, when the companies join the platform and participate, do you have an overarching agreement or in terms of like IP and things like that, or is it then really on a case-by-case basis?
We keep IP, and especially if you refer to like NDAs and these kind of things, to the minimum required, because again, it's something that needs to be enforced only when it's absolutely needed. One of the examples I generally give to companies, you can have your account manager sign an NDA, then is not going to be able to do her job or his job successfully because it's not going to be able to talk about anything on you. Why do you even engage in an open innovation platform if nothing can be disclosed in any way? Of course, that doesn't mean we don't take care of confidentiality. It is something that is super important to us. So as much as possible, we suggest to our industry partners to refrain from sharing any confidential information unless it is absolutely needed. And in those cases, we're going to put in place the right NDAs to be able to protect both parties.
Yeah, that makes total sense, especially if you want to move on a faster timescale. Maybe final question from my end, if you have any other or final advice or recommendations, especially for universities who are looking to enhance their collaborations with companies, get access to new types of partners who maybe might not have the same ecosystem that you have at EPFL. So just any insights or recommendations on how might you go about initiating or developing a partnership?
I go back again, focus on how can you create value for your customer, for your industry partner. That's a start, and put aside your internal structure and so on. And then once you understand how can you create value, the answer is, can you create that value for them or not? Or is it somebody else? The other advice is, again, join forces with other players in your region, the ecosystem. Generally speaking, I would be surprised if you have a lot of redundancies in your geographical perimeter. So together you're stronger, understand the complementarities, and so that you have a broader offering and answer to a broader set of needs of companies. And also in this kind of activities, people and relationship are key. So really shoot for long-term in building trustworthy relationship with partners on the long term that creates value for you and for other partners in the region, because otherwise it's not going to last.
Great. Thank you. Great. Some great insights and recommendations there. I think especially the one, you don't have to do it on your own. And I think some universities very much think they need to do it all on their own and don't consider how do we partner with other organizations to then partner with, let's say, a company. Federico, I would say, firstly, thank you very much for joining us. You've now changed roles, is that correct?
Yes, now that the platform is mature, I'm handing it over to the rest of the team, to my colleagues, and I'm dedicating myself, my energies into Vega. That is a strategy innovation compass for companies. So to give you a bit more context about that, over the last 4 years working in companies, we noticed that there is a gap between the current strategies of companies and the potential of emerging technologies. And the more technology advances, the more this chasm becomes bigger. And so this can, on the long term, actually compromise and hurdle the growth of the company and miss opportunities. And so we created this new service that we piloted over the last year, on which we already had 5 customers, that is really aimed at helping companies navigate emerging technologies by contextualize them in market and customer. And it's something that we're going all in this year to grow it even further and build another layer of interaction with our industry partners. So that we have KNOVA as a platform for explorations, for execution of innovation, and we have Vega that would be the more strategic innovation strategy support that we provide to companies to help them navigate this complex landscape.
Sounds exciting. All right, Federico, thank you again very much for joining us and for sharing all your insights and advice and really interesting perspectives. It's been really valuable to have you. Thank you again, and have a great rest of your evening or day, depending where you are.
Thank you, Sarah. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you for listening to today's discussion. Follow UIIN on LinkedIn, and if you're enjoying our podcast, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review in your podcast platform of choice to help other people find this content too.